I had no idea I had a 15-year-old daughter until the police showed up at my house. Her mother is incarcerated for life, and I'm not sure what to do about it. Hello everyone, I 32 male used to date a lady named Kay when I was a teenager. Kay abruptly ended our relationship one day without giving me a reason. About 15 years later, the police called my residence. To cut a long story short, Kay was carrying my child 15 years ago. Numerous drug-related allegations were brought against her. And she said, "I'm the dad," when they inquired if her daughter may go to any family. I do. However, have a 15-year-old daughter with Kay, and she will be moving in with me today following the results of a paternity test. I'm not a father. I'm fairly naive when it comes to being a dad or taking care of a kid, especially one who is a teenager, because I only have dogs and no significant other. She claimed that Kay was unkind to my daughter, and that she won't be accustomed to structure or being taken care of, so it will be a significant transition for her after speaking with her social worker. The social worker advises me to simply love and support her, even if she doesn't want it, and to be patient with her. She already has a room in my apartment, since I didn't want to overwhelm her. It is really simple. Yes, she is arriving today. I'm just looking for encouragement and possibly some advice. Update. After a few days, I 32 male announced on Friday that my 15-year-old daughter would be moving home with me. Prior to her mother's arrest on several drug-related charges, I was unaware of her existence. It's been a significant adjustment for me and my daughter. When I first picked her up, I informed her that I understood it would take some time for us to get used to this since it was extremely new for us both. I can tell that she has experienced a great deal. She's not used to eating all the time and is extremely underweight. I placed a snack container in her room in the hopes that she won't feel the need to conceal food, at least, food that shouldn't be left out. It's now a snack bin, even though I told her she could grab food from the kitchen whenever she wanted. She appeared to take offense at that. On weekends, I also have lunch, dinner, and breakfast at the same time, so she always knows there will be food. She screams and has nightmares as well. Naturally, she hasn't explained their purpose to me. I'm looking for a therapist for her because, although I don't expect her to, whatever it was traumatic for her. I was able to get her to open up enough for me to learn a few more positive things about her. She adores my pets, first of all. Together we went for a walk with them. She is intelligent. Enjoys reading and playing basketball. Naturally, I told her a few things about myself. She is quite reserved and quiet. Given that I am a stranger to her, I expected her to be less forthcoming, but thus far, things are going very well. Update no. 2. I'm guessing that many of you have seen the post about me. 32 men. I recently learned about my 15-year-old daughter and was granted custody of her. Well, thus far, everything is going very well. She was doing her schoolwork in the kitchen today, but after she was done, she started playing with my dogs and left a few papers out before putting the rest away. What were them? I inquired. Oh, just some exams I had this week, she said. I requested to see them. Sure, she replied. Less than 2 weeks into her time at the institution, she had already received A's on 3 tests: geometry, chemistry, and history. Not because I doubt her intelligence, but rather because I was genuinely rather impressed. But since she is going through a significant life shift and recently started at a new school, I told her that was fantastic and continued talking about how, at her age, I was more interested in sports and my friends than I was in school. She declared, "I like to read and learn, I can escape life with it." Then it dawned on me. She used it as a means of diverting her attention from her mom's presumably unhappy existence and toward learning. Perusing. It truly saddens me to think about it. Version 3. I, a 32 million man dude, have been posting quite a bit on this site lately. In other words, I recently learned the truth and was granted custody of my 15-year-old daughter. Based just on conjecture, I don't know much, but the poor girl has endured a lot, and her mother wasn't a nice mother. We went out to dinner earlier as I wasn't in the mood to cook. We went out for tacos when I discovered that my daughter had never had any. We were chatting away informally when a mother entered with her 2 small daughters. I would estimate that they were both under 10 years old. The 3 daughters were obviously in love with one another, and it was obvious they were having fun with their mother. My daughter, however, became quiet and continued to stare at them. I said nothing, not wanting to eavesdrop. It was only at random on the journey home that she spoke, she claimed. It can be difficult to watch daughters who get along well with their mothers at times. Because my mom and I never did, I get envious. She then began to cry and expressed her want to be left alone for the remainder of the evening. Seeing her cry and be upset was difficult. It is also painful to realize that, despite my presence in her life and my best efforts as a father, my daughter still spent the first 15 years of her life with her mother in a hostile environment, and I am powerless to change that. It's unfortunate that I am unable to assist her, as she did not deserve to be mistreated and probably even abused. I'm just emotional and incredibly depressed for my daughter. I 32 man. Has disclosed here that I recently received full custody of my 15-year-old daughter, whom I was unaware of. A little more than 2 months had passed. She is really critical of me. To be honest, I haven't screamed at her or done anything like. I am aware of what she has gone through. To help, both of us are in treatment. She has been arguing and acting pretty rudely for the entire week. Alongside me, it's been really difficult. It was during one of our disputes that she revealed to me some very private information. I will not divulge. However, I will admit that she had a really difficult childhood. I was making every effort to console her. She appeared to be experiencing a panic attack. She remarked, "You're pretty good at the whole dad thing for being a newbie," as we sat in silence. I told her it had been fun being her dad and laughed and said thank you. After a long period of silence, she said, "Thanks, Dad, to be honest. That made my whole year." I've started crying a little bit happily. Update number 5. I 32 male has written a number of postings on this site regarding learning that I had a teenage daughter with a former partner. In addition, my daughter's mother mistreated her physically and psychologically. She moved in with me after being charged with drugs. Everything has been going smoothly. At one point she even called me Dad. Although we sometimes have difficult days, treatment has greatly benefited her. And I'm currently in therapy to help with this significant life transition. My daughter began experiencing exhaustion, weight loss, pallor, and general illness a little more than a month ago. I began taking her to the doctor because I was concerned. I took her to different doctors because, although they were certain it was simply a severe cold going about, it lasted far longer than any cold should. Recently, one chose to conduct some experiments. To be honest, I had no idea what might be wrong with her. There were times when I thought I was simply a new dad, and I shouldn't worry so much about my daughter. We learned that she has leukemia today. This poor girl has already experienced so much hardship in her life. I'm furious. I'm angry. I feel frightened. It's not an easy task. I've had family members go through chemotherapy, so I know it will be mentally and physically taxing on both of us, especially for my poor child. Since we found out earlier this morning, she hasn't said anything. All I'd like is some positive thoughts, well wishes, and perhaps even some advice if you have any. Version 6. I've talked a lot about my daughter on this blog. 15 women. It wasn't until the cops knocked on my door and asked if I could take her in that I learned about her. My daughter suffered from mental and occasionally physical abuse at the hands of her mother, my former partner. We were beginning to get along, and I was simply trying to get to know her. She was given a leukemia diagnosis a little more than a month ago. This poor girl's life has not been fair at all. She has been receiving chemotherapy while inpatient for about a month. It's been difficult. She's venting her wrath on me by being silent or verbally abusing me. I haven't discussed that much. I can see why she's upset. She is only 15, a sophomore in high school, and she has already experienced a great deal. She has been speaking with hospital staff members and participating in online therapy sessions with her therapist. She will return home in a few days. Hopefully she'll be able to unwind in her bed. She is going to see my pets, whom she adores, for both of us. But especially for her, it has been mentally taxing. I am aware that she gained most of her weight while residing with me. When she moved in with me, she was quite underweight. She isn't eating right now, even with anti-nausea medication. Chemo has made reading more difficult and she won't listen to audiobooks, so she's upset that she can't read since it's always made her feel better. She is obviously angry and agitated, which makes sense and explains why I allowed her to become somewhat irate with me. I do, however, let her know how much her remarks affect me. However, I am aware that she is a teenager who has had trauma throughout her life and is currently dealing with a very trying situation. Version 7. Hello to all of you. She has given her approval for this. Here's a photo of my daughter after she returned home from a month-long inpatient chemotherapy. It's me who frequently publishes on this site about how I found my daughter, a fact I was unaware of. I wrote about adjusting to a recent cancer diagnosis in my last post. Being able to sleep in her own bed and see our pets again made her very glad to be back home. I've been reading her books. We began reading the Divergent book series, which is excellent. I haven't read them previously. She was happier in the hospital than she was since returning home. But she still finds the chemotherapy and illness to be quite mentally taxing. Not in the same way, of course, but just because I love her and hate to see her go through this. Especially after everything she's been through, it's been difficult for me as well. She also frequently verbally vents her annoyance at me, which is acceptable. It is difficult for her, I know. She is only 15 years old. He has experienced a great deal. Nevertheless, I just wanted to provide a little update on everything. Update no. 8. Hello to all of you. A long time has passed. I have written a lot on my 15-year-old daughter, who I only found out about 8 months ago. It has been difficult, particularly since she was diagnosed with leukemia, a type of cancer. She has, nevertheless, exhibited incredible strength in the battle against leukemia. I'm so proud of her. She is an incredibly resilient young woman who has experienced a great deal in her life. For my kid, however, a brand new chapter begins tomorrow. She will benefit much from a stem cell transplant if all goes according to plan, even if it won't be simple. My daughter shall at last be permitted to lead the life that she merits. Since things are going to be incredibly tough for her for a while, my entire family and I am spoiling her today. So please, think and feel nice for us. In addition, I would want to express my gratitude to everyone for their love and support that we have received here. Since there hasn't been any news, we must offer our warmest regards to a WP.